Okay, I have to admit, when I first saw the title of the material we're diving into today, I physically paused.
Oh, yeah.
I think I actually squinted at the screen and rubbed my
It
eyes.
definitely catches the eye, doesn't it? It's not something you see every day.
It really isn't, because
Mhm.
we are looking at a concept that, well, it mashes together two words that usually feel like they belong in completely different galaxies.
Yeah.
The term is autonomous baby girl.
It's definitely a phrase that stops the scroll. It provokes a reaction, like, immediately.
Right. It just feels like a paradox. On one hand, you have autonomous. You hear that and you think self-sufficient, independent, maybe a CEO type.
Totally. Someone who's got it all together. A very adult
You have
word.
a very adult word. And then you have baby girl, which, let's be real, carries a ton of cultural baggage.
A ton. It implies dependence, softness, being taken care of,
Yeah.
maybe even being a bit spoiled.
It feels like oil and water.
Or like trying to mix concrete with cotton candy.
Exactly. It feels like a total contradiction. But the sources we've pulled for this deep dive, and we're looking at some really fascinating psychological commentary here, they argue this isn't a contradiction at all.
No, it's an integration.
That is the key word here, integration. It's not about switching back and forth. It's about merging them.
The text actually defines it as softness with agency.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We need to figure out how on earth someone can be soft and receptive and open,
All those baby girl vibes.
all of them, while simultaneously staying powerful, self-directed, and in control. The autonomous part. Because usually we feel like we have to pick one, right?
The binary choice is where most of us get stuck. We think, if I want to be strong, I have to be hard. And if I want to be loved, I have to be weak.
Yes.
What's fascinating about this material is that it suggests that not only is it possible to be both, but that this combination is actually a state of restored wholeness.
Restored wholeness.
Yeah, it's about learning to rest openly without becoming dependent.
Resting without becoming dependent. That is such a heavy concept when you really think about it.
It is.
I think for a lot of listeners, and honestly for me too, that's the scary part. We feel like if we truly rest, if we let our guard down, we're essentially handing over the keys to our life.
Giving up control.
Completely. But the source says this archetype feels deeply without surrendering choice.
And that is the crucial distinction. To really wrap our heads around this, we actually have to start with a negative space. The source material is very careful to define this by what she is not before telling us what she is. It's like clearing the brush before you build a house.
Yeah, I liked this list. It acts like a disclaimer, It calms everyone down.
Totally.
The text says plainly, she is not compliant, she is not dependent, and this one is big, she is not passive.
I want to double click on passive because in our culture, we so often confuse softness with passivity.
Right.
We think being gentle means you just kind of float along with whatever's happening to you like a leaf on a river.
Yeah.
You just accept.
The go along to get along mentality, the idea that being sweet means having no edges.
Exactly. But the source introduces a psychological nuance here that is, I think, really profound. It says, she is regulated enough to stay gentle without disappearing.
Regulated enough to stay gentle without disappearing. Let's unpack that, because disappearing is a specific feeling we've all had.
Oh, for sure.
What does it actually mean in this context?
Well, think about what happens to your nervous system when you feel unsafe in a relationship. Maybe there's a conflict, or maybe you just really want the other person to like you. What's the instinct?
Usually, to shrink. To suppress my own needs so I don't cause a problem. To become smaller.
Precisely. That is the fawn response.
Right.
We fade into the background. That's disappearing. You're soft, yes, but you aren't really there.
You've evacuated the building to keep the peace.
Oof. Yeah, that hits home. So the autonomous baby girl is different because she's regulated. She hasn't left the building.
She's still home.
Right. She has the internal stability to remain soft and receptive, but herself stays in the chair. She doesn't vanish.
The source gives some concrete examples of what this looks like, and they're surprisingly subtle.
So subtle.
The first one is that she can ask without pleading.
That is a big one. It sounds simple, but the energy shift is massive.
What is the difference there? Because functionally, asking and pleading might look similar. You're requesting something, but the vibe is totally different.
It is entirely about where the energy comes from. Pleading comes from scarcity. It comes from a place of, I cannot survive unless you give this to me.
Right, I'm powerless here.
It puts a burden on the other person to save you. Asking, on the other hand, comes from clarity. It is simply, I would like this. This would feel good.
And if the answer is no,
And she handles it. That's the autonomy. If you plead and hear no, you crumble. If you ask and hear no, you pivot. You might be disappointed, sure, but you don't break.
that leads right into the second example. She can receive without collapsing. I thought this was such an interesting image.
Collapsing, yeah.
It brings to mind someone so starved for kindness that when they get a crumb, they just melt into a puddle.
Or they feel so indebted that they lose their boundaries completely. You know that feeling. Someone does something nice for you and suddenly you feel like you owe them your life.
Yes. You collapse into their debt. You feel like you can't say no to them anymore.
It's like, you bought me dinner, so now I have to agree with your political opinion.
And laugh at all your bad jokes.
Exactly. But this archetype can receive care. She can let someone support her while standing firmly on her own 2 feet, metaphorically. She enjoys the care, but she doesn't lose her structure.
And the third example, which I think is the linchpin of the whole thing, she can say no without fear.
That is the agency part kicking in full force. It's the safety valve for the whole system.
I've heard it said that if you can't say no, your yes doesn't mean anything.
It's just compliance.
It's just compliance. That is 100% true.
The source makes a beautiful point here. It says her softness is not performative. It's not an act she puts on to get something.
So it's authentic.
It's authentic because it emerges from safety, internal and relational.
And this brings us to the central mechanic of how this actually works, because I think a lot of listeners might be thinking, okay, that sounds nice, but how?
How do you stay soft when the world is hard?
Exactly. And the source argues that she allows care because her autonomy is intact.
Okay, let's dig into this. Because I think the common belief, the one we're all secretly operating on, is that to be cared for, you have to surrender your autonomy.
You have to let someone else take the wheel.
But this text is flipping that script entirely. It's saying that autonomy is the safety mechanism that allows the softness to happen. The text highlights a key difference. It says, where autonomy is missing, softness becomes vulnerability without protection.
Vulnerability without protection. That sounds terrifying.
It is. It's walking into a battle without armor and without a shield. And because that's so scary, what do most people do?
They armor up. They get hard. They become cynical or hyper-independent. They shut people out.
Exactly. They harden to avoid that exposure. But the text continues with the alternative. Where autonomy is present, softness becomes strength.
So the logic is, because she knows she can leave or say no or change things, she feels safe enough to be soft.
Yes, it is about authorship. The source says she can enjoy being held, guided, or supported without losing authorship of her life.
Authorship of her life.
Think of it like inviting someone into your home. You can relax, enjoy their company, maybe even let them cook for you in your kitchen. You can be totally at ease. Why?
Because it's my house. I have the keys.
You have the keys, you know where the exit is, you are the author of the environment. Now compare that to being in a stranger's house where the doors are locked and you don't have the key.
No way. I'd be watching the door the whole time. My cortisol would be through the roof.
Exactly. And that is the difference. When you have the keys, the agency, you can afford to close your eyes and rest. You can afford to be baby girl because autonomous is holding the keys.
I love that metaphor. It's not about who's cooking dinner. It's about whose house it is.
That is a great way to put it. And because she has that authorship, she engages in what the text calls selective surrender.
Selective surrender. I like that. It sounds intentional. It's not just, flopping over.
It's all about choice. She chooses closeness. She chooses rest. She chooses surrender selectively. And the source points out that because this is a choice, it makes her trustable, and specifically trustable to herself first.
That is a really deep point. Trustable to herself. I think a lot of us don't trust ourselves in relationships.
Not at all.
We're afraid that if we get too close, we'll lose ourselves. We'll forget who we are.
Right. If I don't trust that I'll speak up when I'm uncomfortable, then I have to keep my guard up 24/7.
You have to preemptively protect yourself.
But if I know, if I really truly trust that I will walk away if I'm mistreated, then I can trust myself to go into the deep end. I know I can swim back.
So self-trust is actually the prerequisite for true intimacy.
Precisely. If you know you won't abandon yourself, you can afford to let others get close.
Okay, we have to address the elephant in the room, though. The word baby girl.
It's loaded.
It's so loaded. Does the source tackle this? Because I can imagine some listeners thinking, is this about acting like a child? Is this some kind of regression?
It tackles it head on.
Yeah.
It explicitly states this is not regression. She is not frozen in a child state.
Thank goodness.
We aren't talking about someone who needs a parent because they can't function as an adult. That dynamic gets toxic incredibly fast.
It feels icky just thinking about it.
It does. It kills desire and breeds resentment. The text clarifies that this is an adult, a fully formed adult who has reclaimed softness without losing agency.
And it calls this state restored wholeness.
Restored wholeness, which implies we were whole once and then maybe life forced us to split.
That is exactly the implication. We start out whole. Children are naturally soft and naturally assert what they want until they're taught not to.
But then life happens. And usually we split into one of two extremes to protect ourselves. The text identifies these extremes beautifully. On one side, you have independence without warmth.
Oh, I know that one. That's the I don't need anyone, I can do it all myself, don't touch me vibe.
The Ice Queen or the Lone Wolf. I am safe because I need nothing. It's lonely, but it feels safe.
And on the other extreme,
Independence without choice.
the I can't survive without you, please tell me what to do vibe.
Exactly. I am safe because I am merged with you. The autonomous Babygirl heals both of those. She lives in the middle.
The source uses these lovely pairings to describe it. She's playful without being reckless.
Tender without being fragile.
Tender without being fragile stood out to me. We tend to use those words interchangeably.
But think about a healthy muscle. A healthy muscle is tender, it's reactive, it has sensation, it's flexible. A muscle that's hard is usually cramped or in spasm. A tight muscle is actually more prone to injury than a flexible one.
That is a perfect analogy. The hardness isn't strength, it's tension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real strength is resilient. And this flexibility shows up in how she handles conflict, too. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Yeah, this is the test. Because my default, someone misunderstands me and the walls go up. Clang.
It's a very common defense.
Mm-hmm.
We feel we have to manage the other person's perception of us to be safe.
But because she's self-directed, she doesn't need to harden. The text says she does not manage outcomes. She participates in them.
Does not manage outcomes.
Yeah.
That sounds like freedom. But what does it look like in an actual argument?
Yeah.
It means she isn't trying to manipulate the other person to get a specific reaction. She isn't twisting herself into knots to ensure she's understood.
So what does she do?
Instead, she clarifies or withdraws as needed.
Clarifies or withdraws. That sounds so simple, but it's actually really powerful. It's like, here's what I meant. Oh, you're committed to misunderstanding me? Okay, I'm going to step back now.
It's the ultimate boundary. She doesn't stay and fight to be heard by someone who isn't listening. The source says she creates safety not by obedience, but by clarity.
And importantly, she does not confuse being cherished with being controlled.
That is a big one. For a lot of people, those lines are blurry.
If someone is taking care of you, it can feel like they own you, like there's a price tag on the care.
And this archetype just shatters that. It says you can be cherished and free. You don't have to trade your voice for your safety.
So let's look at the internal experience of this. The source gives us a peek into her internal monologue.
Yeah, what's she saying to herself? Because it sounds like a tightrope walk.
It really does.
The internal signals are very affirming. She tells herself, I'm safe enough to be myself.
And I choose softness.
And critically, I am still in charge.
I am still in charge.
Yeah.
That is the mantra. Even when I'm resting, even when I'm letting you lead, I am still in charge of me. I haven't resigned.
Exactly. And think about the systemic effects of that. When you have people operating this way, the text says it reduces control dynamics.
Because if I don't need to control you to feel safe, and you don't need to control me to feel loved, then we can just be.
Exactly. It restores consent and normalizes care without coercion.
Dare without coercion. That is the dream, right? I take care of you because I want to, not because I have to.
And I let you take care of me because it feels good, not because I owe you. It changes the entire flavor of the relationship.
So what does she teach the system?
She teaches that gentleness and boundaries can coexist.
Which feels like a revelation. Usually we think boundaries are hard and prickly.
But a boundary can just be a clear line. It doesn't have to be an electric fence. You can say no with a smile. She also teaches that receding does not require self-erasure.
And that vulnerability does not cancel power.
Vulnerability does not cancel power. I think we need to put that on a billboard.
We really do. We're so afraid that if we show our belly, we lose our power.
But this is saying, I can show my belly because I know I can protect it if I need to. It's actually a flex, if you think about it. To be open is a flex.
That is true. The most frightened dog is the one snapping and growling. The confident dog is the one rolling around in the grass, belly up.
Exactly. And finally, she teaches that care feels best when it's voluntary.
It seems like this whole concept is really about moving from a transactional way of relating
I give you submission, you give me safety.
to a relational way. I'm safe in myself so I can share my softness with you.
That's a beautiful summary. It's moving from I need you to survive to I choose you to thrive.
I choose you to thrive. That's powerful. So as we wrap up, let's just recap the image we're left with.
The autonomous baby girl. She is playful without being reckless.
Oh.
Tender without being fragile.
Open without being unprotected. It's such a compelling framework, and I think it's relevant for anyone, regardless of gender.
Oh, absolutely. The concept softness with agency is universal.
If you've ever felt stuck between having to be hard to be safe or feeling like you have to be weak to be loved, this is the exit ramp.
It is. It's a reminder that autonomy doesn't require hardness. You don't have to become a stone to be strong.
And softness doesn't require surrender.
You don't have to give up your keys to let someone into your heart.
It is the integration. You can be both.
And if we really think about the broader implications here, it raises a really provocative question about how we view strength in general.
How so?
Well, looking at the logic of the text, if true strength requires the safety to be soft, are our current definitions of power and independence actually strength?
Well, the ones that require us to be armored up and isolated.
Yeah. Are those actually strength? Or are they just symptoms of fear?
Whoa. So the person who walls themselves off isn't actually the strong one.
Perhaps not. Perhaps real power isn't about standing alone and impenetrable.
What is it then?
Perhaps real power is having the agency to let yourself be held.
That is something to chew on. Real power is the agency to be held. Thank you for diving into this with me.
My pleasure. It's a beautiful concept.
And thanks to you for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Stay soft. Stay autonomous.